You very rarely see men of color in any period pieces. Ryan Murphy's brand has been about, some call it revisionist history, I call it complete history, because he puts us into not just the story, but he helps us reclaim agency.
This old college friend of mine is in town. He's stopping by for a fast drink on his way to dinner somewhere, but he's straight, so straight.
If he's the one I met, he's about as straight as the yellow brick road.
For our viewers who are less familiar, how would you describe The Boys in the Band?
The Boys in the Band is a movie about 8 dudes having a party in New York City in 1968. An unexpected guest shows up, and the conflict there is that the unexpected guest is straight and the 8 other guys are gay.
This is gonna be fun.
And in 1968, it was very much illegal for gays to get together. And so there's all these themes come up of alcoholism and shame and what society does to people who are othered. And there's drama, but actually what's like paradoxical is that the movie's really funny.
All right, this is a raid. Everybody's under arrest. Hello, darling. Connie Casserole. I'm Mary Don't Ask.
Hi, Emery. Come on, you can put it in the kitchen.
I understand that this has a lot to do with the period in which that the play was written, but I wanted so much more for Bernard. When you would step into that role, what other layers of that character had you imagined, and how do you think this party changed him?
Mark Crowley shared with me the backstory of who Bernard was in his life. All of these men are somebody very specific and private to him. Even in death, I wouldn't violate that. But it was so good to know that he wasn't a device. He wasn't the black guy put in for some arbitrary reason. But it's 1968, and the cultural, racial, social, political heat of that year being translated through a character was, I'm going to say, more refreshing, because most of the time we're written out of history, and he wrote us in. And as painful as it was, so was that year. But this party changes him because you have to make that decision that Zachary Quinto's character makes in his final line in the movie. Are you going to go through all of this with a friend and still be able to say, I'll call you tomorrow? Or would this be the breaking point?
I just wanted to tell him that I love him.
And for a lot of people at that time, going into that Stonewall Revolution, a lot of people had to decide who they were going to hold on to as their chosen family and who you were going to untether yourself from.
I find that very representative of the time period that we are in right now. A lot of people who are just waking up to this realization of what this country is and what it was founded on, and who we're going to take with us as we move forward and who we need to leave behind.
Absolutely. I was thinking, if this play was written now and you had a black character, would I want you to take out all of the racial dynamics so that I would feel more comfortable playing it? And if you write a play in 2020 and you have a black character and Black Lives Matter doesn't exist, or the ramifications or the consequences of race in this country weren't involved, you're not really giving a full, authentic portrait. So I had to really embrace all of the painful things that you have to hear and say in 1968, because that was the authentic truth.
Lord knows you're sensitive. Why don't you have a piece of watermelon and hush up?
And very few people were willing to write that. And as much as it hurts, as pissed off as we can get when you even hear it now, it sends a chill up your spine in the wrong way. And that's good, because we're having this awakening, particularly white consciousness awakening in this country. I can't help but to think about how emotionally connected I am to the Breonna Taylor verdict, if that's what we're going to call it, or decision. I don't even know what to call it. But one thing I can say that I am happy to see come out of it is a collective rage. Used to be a black rage about this, or a chip on the shoulder, but I'm seeing so many white people speaking up, irate, and now understanding, as you said, the incongruency of justice in this country.
It is not that I care what he would think of me, really. It's just, he's not ready for it, and he never will be. You understand that, don't you, Hank?
Sure. Do you really think he doesn't know about you?
If there is the slightest suspicion, he's never let on one bit.
Was he had a lobotomy?
Emery and Bernard are very close. Can you talk a little bit more about the significance of that friendship as the only men of color in this production set in 1968?
In this production, Mr. Mantello and Mr. Murphy hired Robin DeJesus, a Latinx actor, to play the role of Emery, when it has traditionally been played by a white actor. You very rarely see men of color in any period pieces. Ryan Murphy's brand has been about, some call it revisionist history, I call it complete history, because he puts us into not just the story, but he helps us reclaim agency. So I gotta say, the relationship between Bernard and Emery feels to me the most contemporary, because we're everywhere and you don't see us. So it was important to see us.
I feel like Latinidad in American cinema has been so erased to the point where people don't know we existed in 1968. Putting me in here in many ways is stupidly radical.
I refuse to forfeit my turn. It is my turn, and I'm taking it.
And like, I can't believe that we're still having these conversations, that this is still new, right? Because I come from a world where I have Black grandparents, right? And some people don't know that. But I also have Black parents who came from a colony that, you know, taught them colorism in a negative way, and that there was a currency to color and race, right? And so you grow up with these forms of self-hatred, and you know, it takes a lot of work sometimes to detoxify yourself from that stuff. And so sometimes light-skinned folks do stupid things, right? And it's important for us to clock that. It's important for us to clock anti-Blackness and white supremacy and figure out what our role in that is going to be.
Playwright Mark Crawley passed away this past March. What would you want him to know about the impact that The Boys in the Band has had on you and the relevance that this play continues to hold?
Maya Angelou says you never can dictate your own legacy. It'll be the collective things that people say about you when you're gone. And one of the collective things people are going to say about Mark Crowley is that he was brave enough to sit down, get sober, and write his truth. His pain, his loathing, his racism as a Southern gay man in a certain time, all of these things coming up and bubbling to the surface and putting in some kind of a dramaturgical piece of art that Joe Mantello then was able to then craft. I almost want to say, I don't want to say manipulate, but he crafted it so poetically that people really can get in, gay, straight, transgender, bi, Black, white, of generations gone by and generations to come. I would hope that the legacy for young people, especially around the world, which Netflix has a global rollout, it's still 1968 in many of these countries regarding sexuality, regarding race. And I think if you can find a way to stay tethered to your chosen tribe and figure out how to say, I'll call you tomorrow, that bond strengthens, people do change, and hopefully those who started in our story on the wagon trying to be a better person return to them, even if they had a really bad night.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching I Have a Question. Interviewing these authors, entertainers, and all-around change makers is always the best part of my day, so I hope you enjoyed it too. If you really liked this video, make sure you show that love by hitting that like button and also subscribe to our channel.